Hello, welcome to, I would say a special office hours, but a transitional office hours. Normally throughout the month of December and possibly January, we'll see. I'm going to be doing some office hours on Monday and on Thursday as usual. I'm trying to transition over to Mondays only because there are things on Thursdays that I want to do that don't involve streaming. So it's more of like a life balance. But welcome everybody. My name is Paul Berserker 01, Batman Shelley.
You can take away my spaceship. You can take away my space suit. You can even take away my space lasers.
Sick man to dance.
But you can never, ever take away my space game.
Mason Cold Iron just resubscribed for 54 months. Good evening.
Thank you so much for that 54
Hope you are feeling better.
Yeah, as I cough. You're a very important pupper, very impressive, Mr. Very pedestrian. You rock. Shots and cheers in chat, y'all. Shots and cheers. Right. So I assume that these Monday ones are going to be pretty short, at least initially, because we don't have a lot to go off of, because it's December. So the first thing I want to tell you all is, especially if you're newer to the community, welcome to the doldrums. We are beyond IAE. We're heading to the end of the year. You will not like 4.5. It doesn't matter if it was the perfect release patch. It was never going to be perfect. I sound a lot better than I used to. Let's just say that. So, Paul, how do you think about engineering? I don't think we're going to see the death of solo caps outside of PvP. It's version 1. As a lot of people saying, it's got good bones, but them bones need to be fleshed out. I mean, you're going to hear a lot of people complaining, and I bet you a lot of you are mad about engineering. And I'm going to tell you right now, if you're mad about engineering, it's probably because of balance, not because of the gameplay itself. Hours on Monday? What is this blasphemy? You should have no life on Thursday that doesn't involve maintaining my routine. Your routine's going to get weird on Thursday soon. I think as the big thing is to make sure that we consistently tell CIG they need to balance better rather than scream about it, because some folks just screech like pterodactyls whenever CIG changes things. But it is the gameplay. It's fucking mitigation. That's it. There's no fun or positive engagement with it. Now, beyond, obviously, there's going to be some subjective realities when it comes to fun. What do you mean by there is no positive engagement with it? Because it is coming from Mr. The Sky is Always Falling Lambo. Salt must flow, yeah. Well, I was saying get used to it, because CIG is going to be adding a lot of stuff over the next, hopefully over the next year, but over the next couple of years, because I don't trust that CIG won't fuck it up. and which will include new features, which will change how we play. Like, one of the things I constantly hear people about with like engineering is like, why do they even have life support? When are we going to ever be out of our suits? And the answer is CIG will make an excuse, will make up gameplay to get you out of your suits. Either through customization, which is what they should do, or what they'll likely do is ham-fisted punch you in the face. So suits are going to start having restrictions like power resources. They'll start having oxygen. They already have oxygen, but they're going to start severely limiting oxygen. And EVA is going to make it very difficult because using EVA thrusters will eat up your oxygen faster. And to retort, is there nothing wrong with the game, Mr. Astropub? I didn't say there wasn't. I just want to know your details on that. Because you come from a position, a notable biased position, that you would like to see CIG fail. So, with that, it's hard to take your honest opinion as honest opinion when we know your opinion's going to be, no matter what, Star Citizen is bad. I wanted to have fun with it, but I crashed near New Babbage. My power plants were immediately beyond repair, and I couldn't replace them because tractors don't work outside of hangars in cities. That's just going to be the reality for a couple of months. Where's the overclocking? Where's the weapon stats ups? Where's the engine overcharging? That's not in the first release. The reality is that CIG was going to do the CIG thing and never release everything in the first go, even though they claimed they would, because that's what they always do. Yeah. We got to start breaking eggs and making omelet. Yeah, that's my opinion. But it's just one of those things where I said many years ago that I think we entered the phase where a lot of people are going to sit down and go, man, I guess Star Citizen isn't my game. And I think we're going to start seeing the crest of that reality here in the next year. If and only if CIG can keep up the pace. Because beyond this first-person engineering, they also need more dynamic damage with and more obvious like armor systems with their, what is it fucking called? Maelstrom system. They're going to also need the updates to quantum drives. They're going to need updates to scanning. They're going to have updates to atmospheric flight. And I say all those things like as if those are going to come out at once. This is CIG. You're going to get drip-fed all of those things over the course of months, if not years, to actually get those things out. Known hater claims the objective fails miserably. Well, if you listen to some parts of the internet, I am an absolute rage monster who gets mad all the time, and am very entitled. I'm a terrible content creator, and everyone should hate me. Which is very funny. Because you go to the other parts of the community, and I feel uncomfortable with people being like, you're such an important part of the community. That's how you know you have a big, very weird community. Don't worry, I already hate you. I don't fully expect full production ramp until mid 2027. We'll see the results in mid 2028, maybe full release in December 2028, but that's pushing it. We'll see. John Cruz said a few months ago that they're working on a threshold system for armor that will basically nullify certain levels of damage. I believe that is part of the Maelstrom system, because last I talked with CIG members about this, they said the damage system is, or the armor system is Maelstrom. It's the damage and armor system. But like I said, scanning is going to change how things work. Most people aren't ready for scanning, because scanning is going to be very finicky and probably very fucky. I fully expect it, the first come out the gate, for the system to be very nuanced in the sense that CIG loves its sim direction, which they'll pull back eventually. But it'll be nuanced in the sense that people will see it as a waste of time, because all it is them staring at a screen to see power levels and energy levels to try to determine if something is a rock or a ship. Well, I was watching live streams and videos. Thorn, it's always fine. As opposed to what we have now. I mean, what we have now is basically nothing. We're gonna go from having basically nothing to having too much, and then CIG is gonna have to find the balance. He did specifically call it out as something that we will do the job of Maelstrom before we get Maelstrom. So I don't think it's exactly related. Okay, yeah. No, Ghost, I don't think you understand. I think you heard me say understanding readouts to see if something's a rock or a person or a ship. And you think like what we have now. I mean, you're going to scan and your whole fucking HUD is just going to be white boxes. Like, you will have information overload, especially in places with lots of rocks, so that your big asteroids will register as an object. Because CIG doesn't know how to unclutter their fucking HUD. So you're just going to see white across your HUD when you first scan, because CIG will not have filters, and then people will scream at them, and eventually they'll go, fine, we'll put some filters in place, and then 6 months later we'll have a filter that barely works, but it has like night vision or something added, and everyone gets super hyped about it, and then about 6 months after that they'll fix it. I just don't think CIG is capable of balance if engineering is going to go by, or the entire history of CIG. Star Citizen's not going to ever be balanced. It's not the goal of Star Citizen is never going to be balance. It's going to be refinement. But when they put them in, they'll suck like the inventory one does now. Exactly. What are we doing? It's Office Apps. So we're gonna be talking. We're gonna watch the last ISC, because I wasn't able to watch the last ISC live, and we'll look at the roadmap roundup. But we'll talk a lot about like 4 or 5 and what's going on. Hey, Viper. Will ping radar be gone? No, it'll be even more ping. It'll just be more shit. They need a council so bad, then at first suggest that. The problem is, no matter what they do, if they put a council together, people will still be pissed. Because a certain group of the people who are part of the council will get their suggestions made, and then the other people who want it will not. That's what I'm saying. Like, we are hitting the crest of the wave of people finding out that Star Citizen isn't the game they want. Yeah, ping will have everything you ever wanted to detect, and everything else too. Agreed, it'll never be balanced. That's almost every game ever made. There's always a meta. But it's beyond the meta. It's just that the way that Star Citizen is made, it's impossible to balance. Both their business practice and their creative practice just indicates that they'll never be able to balance the game. This is not a game where you can have a set number of guns or armor or vehicles or any kind of weapon that will always forever be able to balance between each other. Because they're going to always add more armor, weapons, ships, components, and then you throw on top of that player crafting. Fuck balance. Balance is gone. There's no balance. There will be a meta loadout for people to use, and then CIG will find out whatever that meta loadout is, and they'll nerf it into the ground. You can please some people all the time, and all people some of the time, but you can't please all people all the time. What CIG needs to learn is to make the game that they want to fucking make. They need to buckle down and make the game they want to fucking make. Not what you want to make, not what I want to make, not what chat wants to make, not what Reddit wants to make, not what Spectrum wants to make, what CIG wants to make. Because you'll never make a game for everyone. I hate the fact that Rich Kyer says that. It will never happen. That is a impossibility, and I don't care if CIG thinks they can solve the impossible. You'll never make a game for everyone. And what if the game they want to make fails? What if the sun blows up tomorrow? You never know until you try. That's the kind of like thought that it's like, if that was the mentality, I would have never done streaming. I would have never made YouTube videos, because what if I fail? What if I put all this time and effort and energy into it, and if I fail? You don't know until you try. Well, is it Thursday yet? Well, I missed Thursday, and so we are doing Mondays anyways, but we're doing Thursday and Mondays. Then they will have made their what they wanted to, express their art, and got rejected. That is the nature of video games. There are far more video games that have been made than have been released, and far more video games that have failed than have been successful. Yeah, but you still have to make content your audience wants, or I can make my content that I want to and have a smaller audience. The last video I made, the last office hour captain's table I did was Nightcob was there. We talked about movies. It is the worst video on the Captain's Table podcast that I have released all year in terms of performance. Does that mean it's a failed video? Probably. Does it mean I'll never do something like that again? No, I probably will do it again because it was fun and I enjoyed it. That's the problem with the video games, is that it's a creative industry. It is a art industry as much as it is technical. We might end up seeing Star Citizen failing, but the engine being used for licensed properties to succeed there, only if they ever get to that point. Let me put it this way. I have been hearing whispers from people that Star Citizen and CIG is going to be failing for like 10 years now. And they've always been wrong. I'm not saying it's never going to happen. I'm just saying it's been predicted so much that, and everyone's been wrong, that I don't take predictions. Wait, am I paying attention too much? Is someone trying to mansplain YouTube? Now, Cody is here, is talking about, like, what if CIG fails? If they make what they want and it fails. Like, that's the video game industry, guys. Because CIG is going to have to make a product at some point. They can't just constantly be making the game forever. And that's what engineering is. That's what EVA is. That's what scanning is going to be. That's what crafting is going to be. That's what base building is going to be. All that stuff is going to be making a video game. And that's what Squadron is. And at a certain point, it's going to have to come out, and not everyone's going to like it. I mean, the scope could be reduced just one planet, for example, and succeed. I'm just saying, as a loyal member of the corporate machine, there's always too much at stake and risks to be mitigated. Yes, but it's also I understand that, but as an ardent dyed-in-the-wool capitalist, I find that corporate ideology like that tends to be antagonistic or at the antithesis of capital production, because by being super concerned about meeting the market demands, you're in fact meeting no demands, because you are so generic that you do not stand out against the entire market. The only reason why a product stands out in a market is because it is unique and settles a unique demand that nobody knows exists. That's not even like my words of wisdom. That shit's like the reptile himself, Peter Thiel, talking about that shit. Every company is a monopoly when it first gets started, especially if it's meeting a demand that doesn't exist before it. And the weird, crazy space game that we all follow is not like any other game that existed or will exist. It is in such unique situation that may never exist again.
Right off the bat.
It's very loud. I mean, I hope Squadron 42 runs and isn't released totally broken. That is what I hope for as well. I have faith, based off of the people I've talked to in the past, that that Squadron 42 will do well. I don't think it'll be a groundbreaking achievement, but I do think that a lot of people who've been hungering for a certain type of game, like Mass Effect, will enjoy it. People who missed the old Wing Commander, obviously, but things like Mass Effect, games like, I wouldn't say Halo precise, but it definitely is given some of that Halo vibes. Games like... Another idea behind it. Basically, single player science fiction games. Games that were cinematic, you know. Hey, Paul, watching from work. Keep up with the great content, my friend, and thanks for the raid of the other night, Citizen Talk. Oh, hey, no problem, Evil Tactics. Hope you enjoyed it. Is Squadron 2 coming next year? Is it pushed back, and that's why they didn't talk about it in CitizenCon? Why do you think they aren't updating? That's a good question. So far, what'll likely happen is CIG has an internal release date in mind, and they're pushing to hit that internal release date. All of the sources I have inside the company who I've talked to off the record have all said the same thing. Or I should say, I talked with anonymity, that it's coming out next year. Come hell or high water, it's coming out next year. It wasn't a determination of it being, yes, it will release. We are for sure about it. It was like, woo, it's coming out. This thing may pass. It will pass like a kidney stone, but it's going to pass. You know, kind of thing. I think they may delay it, but it really depends on a couple of different factors. Number one, obviously, how is it working technically? Can it work to a degree that they're okay with? No game is ever released bug-free. Bugs exist. But is it optimized? Are the bugs minimal and minor? You know, do they interrupt the overall experience? Are they repeatable with consistent ability? Everyone has a bug tolerance, and I don't just mean Star Citizen fans, but everyone plays games that have some bugs and either deal with the bugs by mitigating it by going around it or just going, oh, that's weird, and moving on. That's the first step. The second step is release window in the sense of releasing at the right time. I have been a disciple, much to the chagrin of some people, that you need to release a video game that has no impact on the market right now, has no word of mouth other than a cult following. You need to release it in a window where no other games of the type or even that have clout enough to steal attention away from you. You need to release it around then. So if there's another game that's going to release, like if somehow magically Mass Effect's reboot is getting released at the same time as Star Citizen, CIG loses that fight. Or the Squadron, CIG loses that fight. So, and it's a moving target is the problem with that one, because there are also going to be other games out there which understand what Squadron 42 is and will move their release if Squadron 42 is going to come around them. Because, like, for instance, I forget the name of it. Is it Exodus, I think? Yeah, Exodus. I guarantee you, Exodus will not want to release around the same time Squadron 42 is. Because while Exodus is a very hyped game, outside of a very small community, I don't think many people know it exists. And don't get me wrong, I want to support Matthew McConaughey. All right, a local boy, local Texas boy, want to make sure he's doing good, but I don't want them releasing the same Squadron because I don't want Exodus to get punched in the dick. What are the costs that Squadron 42 sales will cover the cost of development? Never. Squadron 42 sales will never cover the cost of Star Citizen or Squadron 42's development. That is never going to happen. If you're judging it based off of the cost of its development, it will be a financial failure forever. The unique aspect of Squadron 42, though, is that Squadron 42 wasn't ever built with the idea of paying back a publisher. At most, they have two investors, or they have a family of investors who they're working with who'd want their money back, and CIG could easily pay off their investment within the first month or two of Squadron if it's even decently good. But those investors seem to not want to divest. Every time they've had a chance to pull out, they've doubled or tripled down. So I don't know who the Calders are. I'd love to meet them in person and ask them, what did you see in this game company that makes you want to go open your wallet and keep shoveling money at them? I know they're friends with Chris Roberts and his family. So like maybe it's just like, you know, hey, we want to get involved in this too. Maybe they're in my chat and they're just super hardcore fans and have been hardcore fans forever, and they had the opportunity that I know many people have wanted to, which is to actually invest in the game company. Ooh, Drew. Yeah, no. Exodus is going to be an amazing game. It's done by several ex BioWare devs, and it is being published by Wizards of the Coast, which is a little more. But it's got Matthew McConaughey as a voice actor. Like, it's set up to be a good game. It's just a matter of like when it releases. You've got units for forearms. Most of that is fat, my dude. It's not all fat. I do need to do more strength training, though. I'm just entirely sick, and I have been for the last week. I was like, oh, it's after Thanksgiving. I can get back on the treadmill, get on back on the training, do all the things, and I just been like, nope, sick in your face. But yeah, no, so like Squadron 2 will never recoup its losses, but that's actually its advantage, is it doesn't have to. The secret for Squadron 42 is that it has to release with decent reviews and at least a little bit of buzz. And as long as it has a trajectory, a rising trajectory, where more people find out about it as it does well, as it goes along, the more people will play it, and then the more people play it, the more attention it'll get, and the more money they make. It's why them releasing on Steam is so important. Because if it gets on Steam, it gets some attention, and then the first fucking Steam sale, that thing goes on sale from like $60 to like $45 or like $30, it will fucking blow up. Hey, I said good day, sir. I said good day, sir. I like that. Said you would have to sell around 10 to 20 million copies of Squadron 42 at $50 to cover the funding, depending on how much total funding you want to cover, 50 or 100%. If it sold 20 million copies, it would be in the top 100 or top 50 games, top selling games of all time. Yeah, of all time. That is some insane projection. I think it would do very well if it sold 2 billion copies, to give you context. They need to be in a decent place before Squadron 42 is released, or they'll lose that momentum. Kind of yes and kind of no. I don't think you'll see a lot of bleed over from Squadron 42 to Star Citizen initially, because the same people who buy a single player game aren't the same people who buy an MMO. And remember, Star Citizen already sold 1 to 2 million copies. We actually don't know about that, because they split up the Squadron 42 and Star Citizen sales sometime around the 1 million copies mark. And it's also not taking into account many people who will buy an additional copy.
You can take away my spaceship.
Like,
You can take away my space suit. You can take away my space lasers. But you can never, ever take away my space game.
that was me looking at exit.
Midnight Black SC just resubscribed for 41 months.
Thank you so much for the 41 months of support there, Midnight Black. You're very important, Papa. Very impressive, Mr. Very pedestrian. You rock. Shots and cheers in chat, y'all. Shots and cheers. I think Squadron 42, if it does okay, its sales will cover Star Citizen for about a year. Only on its own, it'll cover Star Citizen for a year. But the advantage of it is that they don't really have to touch it. They'll probably do some updates to it after it releases, some small bug fixes and updates over the course of 6 months. And the inevitably, it will get launched to consoles. I think they might do one expansion. I wouldn't be surprised if they do one expansion which restores some cut content, because I'm imagining there's some stuff that they've cut while because they have a goal in mind, so they had to cut some, like maybe some levels or some portions they have stuff for, but they just didn't have time for. Kind of like what they did with the original Wing Commander. There was some stuff that was cut that ended up becoming like secret levels, or was like secret missions was what was it called. Whatever do is a burden at this point? I don't think so. It's still an asset. It's just a depreciating asset until it's released. Secret Missions disc, some of the first DLC. Was it 3 parts? Hey, Paul. I hate to do this midstream, but you have ran into an error. Your friend had it. I am not seeing it on my stream. I'm also not seeing it on YouTube either. Or have I run into this error? Did you follow the directions? Basically, your friend's trying to log into a server that has crashed. And your friend is connected to an air server that has crashed. So what they can try to do is log into Arena Commander, change to a different server. So if they're in the US server, go to an EU server or an Asia server, in Arena Commander launch, and that should untake them out of the back end and put them back in. I do not think Squadron 2 will benefit Star Citizen. The question is, I do think it will be benefit. The question is how much, yeah. Either Squadron 42 profit goes half into continuing Squadron 42, a quarter into bonuses and internal, and a quarter into Star Citizen. Star Citizen will benefit massively, because right now it's nothing but an asset drag. Right now, all it does is drain assets from CIG to a project that needs to be released. Once it's released, it becomes an asset bonus. It adds to the coffers, because 2 years after it's released, it's still available for you to play, and CIG probably isn't supporting with updates anymore. And who knows, knowing how CIG works, there'll probably be 3 or 4 dudes who will sit there and continue to support it over time.
Cody Fox 00 just gifted 5 subs.
Thank you for gifting 5 subs there, Cody Fox. You're very important, Pupper. Very impressive, Mr. Very pedestrian. You rock. Trust and cheers to chat, y'all. Trust and cheers. I hope you didn't feel guilty because I was saying, like, you know, nah, dude. Star Citizen's gonna Star Citizen, no matter what does. It's gonna either have to fly or crash, one of the two. We're just annoyed because we can't see the results of Squadron 42 effort like we can with Star Citizen. Exactly. There's a couple of things to also remember about Squadron 42 is that Squadron 42 is a single-player game offline. It is not an online game. It does not require connection to back-end servers. And the biggest problems that Star Citizen has is connected to its server online status, which is one of the reasons why CIG will sit there and work on it on their machines and be like, this looks and acts great. I love how this plays. And then it gets out to everybody else and it's broken immediately. It's almost always the servers.
But you can never,
ever
take away my space game.
Urban Burger just resubscribed for 39 months.
Thank you so much for that 39 months to support their Urban Burger. You're very important, Papa. Very impressed, Mr. Very pedestrian. This is 12 years. I'm drinking. I trust the juice and chat. Y'all shout the beers.
Are you ready to shift your perspective from the ordinary to the extra lizard? Ready to reset your expectations from the everyday to the highest lizard-esque? From breathtaking lizard, incredible lizard, to unmatched lizard, Crusader is calling.
Lizard.
Whether you're just looking to spend the day cloud hopping with the lizard, or relaxing by Green Circle's infinite lizard. With shuttles arriving daily, what are you waiting for? Come, visit Lizard the Lizard in the clouds.
Thank you. Thank you, Iris. You're very important, Pupper. Very impressive pisser. But imagine how bad the flight model in Squadron 42 is. You're glad we don't know. I have a feeling that it'll be a lot simpler than Star Citizen. And I think they finally said it a while ago, but like, we always knew that Squadron 42 and Star Citizen were not going to have the same flight models. Why? Because Star Citizen is constantly updated and will continue to be constantly updated. And eventually, Squadron 42 has to be released. I might be a soulless corporate ghoul, but I do enjoy your content. Thank you. Have I sent my apology letter to Jared so they don't kick me out of the giveaways? Nope. They can kick. I haven't heard anything about that back here. Why would I apologize to Jared? I still think it was an inappropriate joke, and it was clipped out of context, as a lot of things are. I just deleted the VOD and deleted deleted VOD in both places because I'm just like, I don't want to have to deal with this. I don't have to deal with people who have no life deciding that they're going to try to make drama out of something I said. Follow up. Do you wear your helmet to bed? No, because it's too uncomfortable. Jared apologized for you to being a complete ass. No, but that's just sort of the relationship I've always had with Jared. The thing you got to understand about Jared is that he's a theater kid. He's an actor. And as somebody who went to school for theater, I have known many actors and theater kids, and it is very much normal to have that sort of relationship. It will be very weird, because here's my prediction. Star Citizen will influence Squadron 42 Part 2 more than Squadron 42 Part 2 will influence Star Citizen. Because everything they learn from Squadron will be incorporated into Star Citizen, and when they work on the second game, because there's three games to it, when they start working on the second game, they'll take everything they learn from Squadron and from Star Citizen and incorporate that into the second game. Which means that Squadron 42 Part 2 will play more like Star Citizen than Squadron 42 Part 1 will. Theater Kids Mission, let's go. I have no idea. Don't worry about it. It's really stupid. Basically, it's one of those issues where like that Mike gets into every other week that people decide to make a big drama out of. No, I wanted the hype train. Oh, that works too. Hey, level 3 hype train. I did not stream today expecting we could see a lot of people to donate, so thank you. All right. I've been streaming for like almost an hour. Let's get into Inside Star Citizen. Let's hear talking with Thorsten. Thorsten is one of my favorite developers because Thorsten doesn't give a fuck. To me, Thorsten has always been the guy who's been very practical and goal-oriented. Because, like, the thing that made me like Thorsten was Jared asked Thorsten, people call us Beam Citizen. What is your response to that? And he just went, they're right. I'm like, thank you. Thank you for not running away from the Beam Citizen. Embrace the Beam. Because that's how you get a game. If it's people like Thorsten who will make this game work. It may be bloody and bruised and barely functional, but it'll work. You'd make some good points. I just can't deal with people acting like the amount of rage without getting a paycheck.
So we've been talking about engineering in one way or another for several years now. Whether that's ISC,
He's very German. I don't know if he is German or not. I assume he is, but like, I don't know if you know, he's like Scandinavian. I don't know if Thorsten is a German name, so I don't know.
I'm really looking forward to see what you all will be doing with it.
or SCL.
Is engineered this absolutely enormous behemoth thing that's going to ruin everybody's experience?
If you're into that, yes.
Or even 2 different CitizenCon presentations.
We already talked about it several times, but wait, there's one more thing.
When I was dressed up as a late-night television host vampire and dumping sand throughout the LA office without permission.
2020.
Don't ever do this again. They're begging me not to continue. But we will show them. Count Disco does not know how to listen.
Yes, it was a different time. But over the years, the systems have continued to evolve, and now, after 7 videos, several Arena Commander and tech preview tests, and the current PTU cycle underway now, we've never been closer to bringing the next evolution of spaceflight to life ahead of our intended release later this month. So rather than go through every detail once again of what you're already experiencing on the PTU now, I sat down with Thorsten for this short discussion of what I'm calling Inside Star Citizen, Talking with Thorsten, the 8th show about engineering before it's been released. And that's why we didn't do another CitizenCon thing this year. All right, we can probably shorten it to just Talking with Thorsten.
This is fine. This is fine.
So, right off the bat, it's been a year since we did that last ISC on engineering.
Hold on. You're not going to get away from this.
Right
Look at that. Look at that glorious mustache. Glorious. Glorious.
off the bat, it's been a year since we did that last ISC on engineering. What's the same? What's changed?
We didn't change a lot. What did change is the main direction of the feature itself.
Just the main direction.
Just the main direction. Technically, everything that you had in the Arena Commander, everything that we talked about still stands true. So
that is a one-piece shirt. Thorsten, I knew I liked you.
everything that you had in the Arena Commander, everything that we talked about still stands true. So everything that we discussed, all the intentions we had, still stands true. We had before like the direction of things have to happen. You have to be on your toes. You have to be very reactive to everything that is happening. We noticed that this is not particularly fun. So
Just giving people something to do is not enough.
giving people something to do can be really fun, but it pulls too much attention to these rather than of the gameplay that you should experience.
Warning, fire detected.
So the direction that we got was, and we are now
By the way, that's an alarm that goes off in your ships if you haven't already played it. That goes off when you have fire.
acting on is that engineering gameplay is there to extend the lifetime of the ships rather than making your life miserable on a ship.
It's a nice change.
I think it might be worth it, yes.
Let's refresh ourselves on the basics of how it works for people who haven't gone back and watched the 7 previous videos. The first thing is preemptive or preventative stuff, the stuff that happens before things happen. Tell me how you use engineering to prepare your ship.
One of the main things right now that you have to do, or you should do, is prepare for travels. So you should buy fuses ahead of time so that you can replace them once they break on the ship. You should buy enough sea canisters so that you are able to repair the components on site. So this is like the prep work, the first, hopefully, 5 minutes, if we can make something work.
He's trying to get vendors added to the spaceports so that you know how to run around. We'll see if we end up with that or not. I'll say it, you don't have to say it.
Been a while, hope you're doing well. It was okay. I'm getting over a cold or a flu, so you hear me talk or cough or that kind of thing, that's the reason why. Like having a spare tire in the car before having gone to cross-country trip. Yes, but more than likely, it's if you do a cross-country trip every week and your tire's gonna blow out at least once during that trip. The people turning as engineering should watch this. Yes.
Continue.
For bigger ships that allow components to be swapped out in fight or in your travels, you can also prepare by buying components and then storing them on the ship so that you can replace them.
So first part of engineering resource network is preparation. In the single seat ships, the fighters and stuff, does this still affect their day-to-day life?
No. So yes, but no. so engineering gameplay affects everything. What engineering gameplay does there is that it extends the lifetime. So imagine you are on your single-seater fighter, you're not doing too well, and you barely survive. Now you can use the MFD to repair the components that allow you to travel back home. So this is the extension of the lifetime of the ship that you invested time in.
And so then for ships with interiors up to the bigger multi-crew ships,
yes.
The next big change with engineering is a damage to your components.
So on the ships with interior, you will have access to the components. By having access to the components, there's the chance for you to repair on-site or repair while they are taking damage. Normally, you would die in the game that is like at 4.4, but with engineering gameplay, you would be able then to point the repair gun at the component, bring it back from 0 health to full health, so you get your power plant back, or you extinguish the fire, repair afterwards, and then you're ready to go.
The only thing I have a problem with is that wear and tear and damage are 2 different things. They should be the same thing. Damage should be a bar, and that damage bar should be lower every single time you repair, so you could never get it back to 100% because it's wear and tear. Until you take it back to a facility where you can get it fixed up, but then the bar will go down further. Kind of like how health works with your character, where you're like, if you get a size like a tier 3 injury, you will always have a lower health bar until you get that tier 3 injury fixed. Because the more you can simplify the system so it's very similar to other systems, the more people will understand it. Can we change a barrel in our ship guns and FPS weapons to get them back to 100% like Tarkov? Not yet, no. What do you think about what's going on with your view? And maybe we'll start bringing to the game. This? It's going to start making it so that when you get damaged or you get knocked out, you'll be able to recover faster. That's the goal. It's hard to judge at the moment because because most of it is bugs. Oh yeah, no. The game is entirely bugged, and there's no way they're going to fix it by 4.5's release. So you're going to get a entirely broken game when it releases, and it won't be fixed again for 2 months. So that's just, you know, a good way of putting it. CIG is entirely going to make, as usual, never bet on playing Star Citizen over the holidays. You don't want a damage bar and an integrity bar? No, I want a damage bar that also acts as an integrity bar. I want them the same bar. So it's got 1 overall health pool. Yes. And the wear and tear will reduce that health bar down over time until you get it repaired. And the more you have to repair it in a shop, the faster it'll wear down. So eventually it takes 1 hit, you know, or eventually the cap will be below the 100% and you'll never get it up to 100%. So you'll need to either buy a new component, build a new component, or just deal with the fact that you have a worse component until you can get the money to fix it. And damage has a negative effect on max condition until repaired. Basically, yeah. The counter to the argument is players would need to change comps at 80% damage every time, which is fine. In my opinion, that's fine because that stimulates the economy. That gets people to buy new components, to build new components, to constantly have a supply of components in the background. Hey, Stringley. No more December patch, yeah. So I was trying to ask me, no, you can definitely ask questions. I'm just, where we're watching as well, it's a little bit different. Not everything in this game needs to be degradation headaches. CIG is already going to be adding degradation to the game. And they've already said that they're going to add degradation. Degradation's already in components. So you're going to have degradation eventually. And it functions the same way, whereas degradation will build up over time, and eventually you have to replace it. Good to see you live instead of just in background listening to your YouTube lore. Stringley, here's the thing. I stream every week. I've been streaming pretty much every week with some breaks here and there for 10 years. In fact, I got my start streaming before I actually did the lore content. People know me for my lore content, though. Yeah, I stream Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and start of the new year, I'll be more Friday through Monday, but yeah. I wonder how it will be flag older ships with no component access. Eventually, they're going to add more component access, but as far as I understand, older ships with no component access will just work like single seater ships work, where you have the option to repair a couple of things and then move on. Am I on Twitch? I am on Twitch. I'm on Twitch and YouTube. Just my free time rotates. Understandable. I used to work in that kind of job, so I understand it.
And that scales now with the amount of people that you can fit on your ship. So yes.
Crafted items with bus will ultimately be sought after anyways. But yeah, but it also, and here's the thing. I say that, but like, that needs to be, that's where balance needs to come in, where components need to degrade at a slow rate. But I think right now the way it works is military and racing or like performance components degrade faster than civilian components, which degrades faster than industrial components. So the better the component, the faster they degrade. So the more frequently you're gonna have to repair or replace them. Yeah, I'm feeling a little better. I'm not at the stage where I'm just dealing with like the phlegm and the snot going down my throat and draining and stuff like that. Yeah. But that also means that crafted items will also eventually disappear, which means you have to rebuy the crafted items. You always talk about Squadron 42 being a trilogy. Do you still think that they have plans for starting the second game immediately after launch of Squadron 42? No, I don't think they'll do it right away. I think they'll probably take about 6 months to maintain, but also to debrief. There'll be a lot of people who work on Squadron who are going to take up a lot of built up time. And by a lot, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if there are key members of the Squadron 42 team who will be gone for like 6 months, like half a year, because they have that much time left up, for like vacation time. I think you'll probably see about a 6-month cooldown time where they do some maintenance and some fixing for Squadron. And I do believe they'll probably do like a small DLC where they add in some missing scenes that they had to cut as part of it'll expand the game a little bit. And then they'll probably go into full production within the year after Squadron 42 1 is out. But I also think it'll take them a lot less time to do Squadron 42 2. Like, I think it'll be a year after the release of Star Citizen that we'll see Squadron 42 2 release. Basic crafted items should be cheaper. Driving crafting professional, which we don't have yet. Exactly. Yeah. Thank you, Big Brick. Yeah. You don't have to build the studios again. Exactly. You don't have to build the flight systems. You don't have to build the physics engine, the NPC logic. Like, all that stuff is already done. It's just, at that point, it's a matter of tweaking it. It's going to be more like the difference between Mass Effect 2 and 3 than the Mass Effect 1 and 2. Like, Mass Effect 3 released pretty quickly after Mass Effect 2. And I know a lot of people are like, oh God, dear God, no, Mass Effect 3. But like, the quality of the game wasn't an issue. It was the fucking ending. Everyone hated. Yeah, it was originally called Behind Enemy Lines, but it was supposed to be a secret missions disc. And then they decided to break it up into three games, because if they had released Squadron 42 the way they originally had, it would have been a 90-hour game. Isn't that always works in the games industry? CIG is very hesitant to fire a bunch of people in general. They do a lot of work to try to keep people in their studios. The thing that was the big consternation recently is that they needed to close down LA. And so they tried to get as many people from LA to a new studio because they wanted to fill up Manchester. And a bunch of people were just like, I'm not leaving fucking LA. So they didn't. Some people did actually move from LA to Austin, though. I know several folks who work at CIG LA ended up working at CIG Austin. I'm a bit concerned it's not showing Squadron 42 at VGAs this year. I mean, I knew that wasn't going to happen. CIG is probably not going to, they probably don't even know if they're going to hit their date in 2026. At the very least, in 2026, we will get a date release. We will know by May when it's going to release. Mass Effect 3 came out 2 years after Mass Effect 3. Exactly. And I think Mass Effect 1 to 2 was like 4 years. Let me double check. Mass Effect 1 came out in 2007. Mass Effect 2 came out in 2010. That's 3 years. It was 3 years between 1 and 2, and they had a complete engine change. And then it was 2 years between 2 and 3. It feels like it's coming out in 2027 now. Like I said, last I talked with CIG developers, they were like, it's coming out in 2026, hell or high water. I'd like them to talk about one product out before we get started talking about the next step. Of course, but people are always curious about what the plan is. I do think it'll be probably 2028 or 2029 before we see Star Citizen Squadron 42 too, though. It sounds like you got the itis. No, I had the itis. I had the flu, and I'm coming off of it. I'm at the point where I'm just drainage. Hey, Astro, did you like? How did you like IAE? Did you get anything nice? Nothing for myself. Everything I bought was for the stream, so it was nice. It was good to cover. I didn't sleep enough. It wasn't as productive as I wanted to be.
The next chapter of engineering is repairing and exchanging of components and potentially exchanging fuses.
And it's not just managing the components, it's managing the relays. How do the relays work?
They changed a little. So if you recall, in the early tech preview and even the early Arena Commander mode, relays were like the weak point of any ship. We thought back in the day that this is a really, really good idea. And to a degree, it would be. But with ships where some relays are placed in a very accessible position for getting shot at some point there will be the...
I still say 1.0 in 2032 at the earliest. I don't think CIG can survive 1.0 to 2032. I think you're likely going to see 1.0 in 2027 or 2028.
Expert players that will just target those and you will be rendered useless within a blink of an eye, which disagrees with the statement of we have to bump up the TTK here. So relays and fuses are still relevant, but if a relay does not hold any fuses anymore, basically the ship cannot support the full amount of power that the power plant would allow you to have. It makes sense to repair or restock the fuses.
But it's not going to stop your cold. It's not going to prevent doors from opening anymore. No. If you don't effectively address the needs of your components and everything, it can now generate a new hazard for the interiors of spaceships: fire.
Warning, fire detected.
So fire can happen in several ways in our game. So one aspect is exterior-induced damage to your ship that can cause fire. Components will trigger fire based on hits from bullets. So energy weapons are right now the most effective one in setting interiors on fire if they hit the components on the interior, versus ballistics, they have a very small chance of igniting the components. And the next big thing is mismanagement of your ship. So if you make your ship run too hot, so if you, for example, think you don't need the full power on your coolers, that means that all the other components start to overheat. We have a system in place that basically has the auto shut-off of some of the components, but sometimes that might not be enough. So the temperature rises so high that the component itself incinerates, and then you have a fire due to this systemic approach. And then the third type is malfunctions. These are induced by the wear and tear. So the higher the wear and tear of the component, the higher the chances is in different stages that they can trigger an ignition.
You've repaired it a few times, but you haven't replaced it.
Correct, yes.
And in dealing with fire, how do you deal with fire?
So you have the extinguisher that we now place in every ship, which is the active counter to that. The more fire extinguisher point to the same fire, so they're much quicker. That's the most straightforward way. The next way is venting the ship. And for the release, the way that you will be able to do that is by daisy chaining doors. So what you have to do, basically open the door next to the next door, so that you at some point reach a door that leads to the exterior.
And vent the atmosphere.
And vent the atmosphere out.
Sounds like when you're the second player playing Gyromite back in the day. So yeah, preparing.
Faster than light, baby.
With replacement components and fuses if you have interiors. Repairing those components and replacing those fuses if they take damage, and then dealing with fires. That's essentially the engineering loop that's on its way in 4 or 5. We've recently been in tech preview testing. How's that been going?
The feedback that we received is helped us a lot, and helped us also to make some points in some of the changes that we have been seeing now between the different tech previews, which is really good because it brings the gameplay to exactly what we want to have, which is extending lifetime of ships and not being an annoyance, a constant annoyance. One thing that had to come with engineering gameplay is a full rebalance. So a full rebalance of all weapons, of all ship components, of like basically how our character, the ship, functions in the game. I think we are approaching right now a good baseline for the release. So I'm hoping that we get some more testing in, because the longer we have the tech preview running, the more we see what needs still to be updated. So
now at the time that this airs,
Iris, my counter to that is corporate America. Imagine every spaceship is produced by the biggest corporation you can imagine. Well, NPCs repair their ships too. I don't know if they'll repair them initially, but they might over time. Do you play PTU, Astro? I did play the PTU a little bit. My experience with the PTU is it's fine. The issue comes down to bugs more than anything else.
because we're recording this rather early in November, we'll be on PTU. We'll be on PTU with full-blown testing for an intended December release, which is really exciting. Ending the year with a new star system.
Well, the reality is that night vision, artificial horizon gauges, and that kind of stuff are all likely things that CIG will add at some point. It's just not valuable for them to add right now. I wouldn't be surprised if we already see them in Squadron. And there's like so many things which like, CIG, you should do this. They're probably like, yeah, we should. It's just not, we'd rather work on this than that. My counter is, Astro, corporate America, who do you think makes those things for the U.S. military? To you, Astro, is corporate America. Or who do you think makes those things for the U.S. military? Lowest bidder. This would be like if there was no regulation for the U.S. military. This would be like if it was the Russian military. You're really sticking to using that intended word. We love to quote Jared too much. Yeah.
Wasn't quite enough. We want to end the year with this gameplay system. It's going to fundamentally change every spaceship in the game that we've been talking about for 5 years at this point. As far as every ship, we say it will affect every ship, and not every ship equally at the time of this release. My understanding is there's about 80 ships at the point of 4.5 release that have everything. There's about 30 ships in various states of conversion. Some have engineering screens but don't have physicalized components. Some have physicalized components but don't have engineering screens. Through all of it, you'll be able to use engineering in one way or another. Last thing you want to say to folks as they're testing it in PTU now and they see this ahead of its intended release before the end of December.
Yeah, so I definitely need to shout out like the people that have been sticking around with me and with everyone involved in that feature. It's a huge group, but the core people that really deserve a lot of like praise are Guillaume, Guillermo, and Scott. Those are my key personnel that without them we wouldn't be here. So with that out of the way, the feature is made to stay. This is Star Citizen. This is the definition of Star Citizen. This is what we always wanted, and finally we have it.
It's where we've been talking about going for the last 5 years, yeah.
It doesn't mean, though, that what you see right now is set in stone. So we appreciate all the feedback that we receive. We are aware that we don't deliver something that is perfect right away. So we need your help, as always, to point out the things where we can still improve. We are not done yet with engineering gameplay. There are still things that we have on the list. And we are consciously holding back those ideas right now because we think we already gave a lot and we are a bit scared of overwhelming the players a bit. And now we want to observe you playing that and basically figuring out what still needs to be added or even what we need to adjust.
Well, that's Torsten Lyman on engineering, available on PTU right now. If you haven't jumped in and given it a try, do so. And
Is that Jeff Gordon?
as we
Yes.
head towards our December release for 4.5.
Oh, and as a coda, since we recorded this, we've also decided to add armor into this release as well. So keep a lookout for the upcoming engineering guide that'll go out with the release of 4.5 to learn more. Thanks for watching. We'll see you all again next year.
What do you think of Wicklow requiring rep? I think everyone should require rep. I am a son of a bitch. I am very much I want to say I'm an outlier. I don't want to believe I'm an outlier, but I'm pretty sure I am when it comes to Star Citizen, in that I am of the firm belief that Star Citizen benefits from moving fast and breaking things. I would be a very happy pub if by the end of 2027 or 2026, every single feature that's going to be in 1.0 is in the game. Even if it's entirely broken and barely playable, if already unplayable. Because in my opinion, the faster we get to the feature complete, the faster we get to a playable game that everyone enjoys. Pub. I agree. No, I think having high reps with some people should lock you out with a rep with others, but I do think that there should be groups like Wicklow, people like Wicklow have reputation, which are just universal. Nobody hates Wicklow because he's Wicklow, kind of thing. But it should require you to work with them. So you can't just be like, oh, cool, I've got all the assets. Give me an Idris, you know? Xenothread hates Wicklow. Xenothread is one of those organizations. All right. I'm going to get on my soapbox. All right. I'm going to head up on my soapbox and I'm going to say something that I know CIG doesn't believe in. And I think it is a flaw. And I would hope that they may reverse their decision and fix this, even if this does take them more time. I think that CIG fundamentally misunderstands what a sandbox is. And if they want to make an open world sandbox game, what they have to do is let everyone play with anyone. You have to make the xenophobic space Nazis a group you can ally with. You just also need to have consequences for allying with the group that everybody hates. And there should be consequences for you as the player for joining Xenothreat beyond just like reputation, but also like where you can go and what you can do. Narrative consequences, gameplay consequences. Yeah, like Wicklow wouldn't let him trade, or it wouldn't let you trade, or you'd get fucking arrested every single time you go through a jump point. Like, you persona non grata, everyone wants to shoot you because nobody likes you. KOS by locals, not KOS by like the fucking headhunters, by CFP, by Rough and Ready, by like every single gang in Pyro wants to kill you, you know? And that's the problem, is that CIG hates forcing consequences, which to me is fundamentally a misunderstanding of not only their community, but of how you build a video game the way that Star Citizen is. They need to start embracing the idea that they're building a universe where your actions have consequences. That was the thing. That was their mantra for like a decade. And then the last 3 years, they suddenly have gotten scared of having consequences for your actions. And I think it's because a lot of the mentality and design ethos of Squadron moved over into Star Citizen. And they're like, well, we know how to make a single player game because we've already finished one. So let's just do what we did with Squadron because we know what works. which is fine to a point. But eventually, you're going to need consequences for a open world multiplayer game. And like Star Citizen is well loved by a lot of people because it doesn't hold your hand. You spawn into the game, they throw the keys at your face and say, "Good fucking luck, kid. Here's the difficulty like cliff for you to climb to see if you would enjoy the game." I get that they need to simplify it, which is fine. They need to simplify the universe a little bit because they don't want to have so many cascading interacting groups, but they still need to have balances of reputation. This can't turn out to be like a Bethesda game where you can be the head of the Thieves Guild, the Mages Guild, the Fighters Guild, the true hero of Kvatch, the Dragonborn, the Neverine. You can't be like everything at once to have the full player experience. There needs to be some things you do that lock you out of your progression for certain groups. And if you need to simplify it to down to like 5 guilds and those, or 5 groups, 5 or 6 groups, and your actions will have influence on some of those groups, that's fine. I think eventually CIG will need to have a handhold option for players starting the game. They will need basically a 2-hour single player experience for people to introduce them to the game. That's fine. I think that is, as long as it's entirely optional, I think that's fine. But they still need to let people have the keys thrown at their face and say, "Good luck, kid." Right now, the problem I see is their focus is so hardcore on the end game PvP experience, in the sense that of like group gameplay, you know, like go build a base, go build a space station, go build your giant mega fleet and go fight each other. That experience, and then the experience of like the tiny dungeons and the big raids, like the contested zones and eventually the municipal works, those sorts of things. Those are all good. Those are all parts of an MMO. And like the other parts that they're building, which are features, are part of an MMO. But they need that connective tissue for the players who aren't going to go off and join mega orgs and aren't going to go do dungeons and raids. They need to have something to do and something to work for. And reputation has been in Chris Roberts games forever. Go play Freelancer. Freelancer has a very simple reputation system where if CIG just copied the Freelancer system, they would be great. Is the character from Squadron 42 supposed to be a Star Citizen character? Originally it was. I don't think it's the case anymore. Not sure if this really makes sense, but I wonder if it has all the chanting of FOMO made CIG scared of consequences to avoid making people miss out. No, I don't think so. I think the move has gone. I think it's twofold. Number one, I need to use Russian real quick, but number one is they needed to. They realized that they had too many factions, and there would be too many cascading issues with those factions. So like, if you had a negative reputation with Crusader security, but a positive reputation with Crusader Logistics, that wouldn't make any sense. But you could technically do that because they're two different organizations. And in order to link all these organizations together so that they would have a cascade effect on each other, would itself be its own system that would be fairly complicated. And the question becomes, what does this add to the game? And the answer is not a lot. So they knew that they had to simplify the system. The other problem they had was they couldn't get negative reputation to the point where you could so easily get negative reputation that you would just get shot at on screen. So they said they're getting rid of negative reputation. I think enough people told them that's fucking stupid that they hopefully have reconsidered it and are, because they are making a new reputation system, which should be out next year. At least, CIG out. So part 0.001 of 100 will be out. And the simple solution is just give a same gradient scale down as you do up, so that the further you go down, the more consequences happen, like higher docking fees, higher costs to buy things, less missions or no missions, down to get the fuck out of here, you're not welcome here, do not land, and to we're going to shoot you if we see you kind of thing. Not a lot. One of the crowning achievements of Elite Dangerous is the background sim. For power play, how many people participate in power play? Because they had to entirely redo power play because nobody liked it. 2.0, they had to completely revamp it with 2.0 to make it better. Yeah, that's power play. The system that controls all the stuff is power play. And the problem is that even now, it's not really that dynamic. You can affect the changing of controlling of stations here and there, but that doesn't help you in the long run more than just it adds more complicated to your experience. Maybe I'm misunderstanding, Iris, because if you're saying that what I'm saying for power play for the background simulation isn't the same, maybe they added something and I have no idea about it. Did they add a dynamic economy finally? This is the first time I've ever heard about it. I'm going to use the restroom real quick. The point being, my hope is that CIG takes at least a simplistic view of the factions and then allows those factions themselves to have interactions with each other. And those interactions will then determine what you can go and do. All right, I'll be right back.
Weapons free, y'all. Barcelona!
Everybody and his dog calls himself an outlaw.
Stand by for Titanfall.
I'm Fly. I'm Pilot.
Genesis?
Mission complete. Burrito I eat. There you go.
I'm just an old-fashioned cowboy.
I love democracy.
I'm Fly. I'm Pilot.
Good news, everyone!
Elite has always had a dynamic economy that required creation of third-party tools to track stuff. Also, the background sim is not power play. What is the background sim then? Also, I'm going to turn off the fun button. I don't know if you were going crazy. You are going crazy. Because what I remember is that you could influence certain factions to have control over certain systems. And you could build reputation with specific ones. Like I want to say it was the Alliance. I wasn't the Federation or the Empire. So I think it was the Alliance, right? As far as I remember, Elite's economy hasn't been dynamic. It was static in the sense that prices didn't change based off the supply and demand of a system. But I could be wrong on that one. Personally, I do not see how faction relations could be so hard. If you have a good rep, they give you boons. If you're negative, they give you problems. That makes your interactions with another faction complicated. Okay, tough shit. Hell, interesting. I'm waiting for people, like people telling me the BGS, and I'm like, is there like a link I can go see for BGS? Price change now with supply. Okay, so they've added a dynamic system into the game. Because when it first launched, it didn't have a dynamic system. That was one of the complaints that people had, was there was no like dynamic economy. BGS tracks, Elite tracks everything. I'd like to see small perks and disadvantages depending on rep. Doesn't need to be anything major. So, it's been a while since I played Freelancer, but the very basic system in Freelancer was that depending on who you worked for in the game, there were several different factions, would affect who you could work with and who you couldn't work with. And you could build up or lose reputation with certain factions by working with other factions. And there was one faction, the Pirates, who had negative reputation with everyone. And you would be shot on sight by those people. Yes, you are wrong. We have to use Inara and EDDB to track which system has the best prices to buy ships and sell mined goods. Yeah, but is that like an API that scrapes the game and that changes routinely? Or is that just where you can find those best prices? It was trivially easy to balance that rep system and mutual with everyone. It just user reported. Okay. That's interesting. Like I said, it's been a while since I played Elite. I've been even longer since I played Eve. I never got past the tutorial. Freelancer, that's the Star Citizen begging for the rework. It's also the game that Star Citizen was basically supposed to be a sequel to, even though it wasn't actually Freelancer, because Freelancer's owned by Microsoft. If it didn't change, it wouldn't need to be tracked. Well, I mean, Star Citizen has changing commodity prices patch to patch, but that's all done manually. And it'd still need to be tracked, even if it changed, simply because you'd have specific places you'd go to. I'm sure there's no single repository in game which tells you all of the good prices in games. That would be bad game design. To be like, oh yeah, here's your commodity board where you can find the best prices to sell your goods at. Like Star Citizen has track pricing as well, even though it's not dynamic. And people build databases for that. Oh, funny. The Xenos were factions freelancers that everyone hated. I'm sure that's not related. Yeah. That said, the same system was in Wing Commander Privateer. Yes. If I haul to a station with more than demand, the next trip the price is way down. Okay, cool. Neat. I thought this current patch rubber bands prices based on how many people are moving said item around for Elite. Or Star Citizen. And that's the first thing I would know first time I'd be hearing it if Star Citizen has dynamic price changes suddenly. No. I wouldn't know that. That'd be cool if it's actually there. Because that is supposed to be what Star Citizen is supposed to do. The dynamic system is supposed to, as more people move things, the price will drop. Higher amount of goods in an area, the price for that good will drop, which will mean less people should be giving that, and then other prices otherwhere would go up. I heard Deb say there was some effect to players buying and selling goods. There was originally for fuel and repair. Locations should have a rate consumption. They already do have rate consumption. The game already tracks consumption, which is why they cap out at certain places where they won't accept a sale after a certain point. The thing should change more around, the next step should be the more there is sale at a location, the lower the price will get, because they already have everything. So they're not going to pay more money for something they already have. Recently. Oh, okay. Good. The point being with Reputation is that it's not a system that's revolutionary. Plenty of games have had it and have it currently. I'm just not a fan of the idea of having a Reputation be where you can be friends with everyone and you can never be with the bad guys. Because I think fundamentally CIG misunderstands how players play games like this. If somebody wants to play the Space Nazis, you let them play the Space Nazis. And then you give them the consequences of playing the Space Nazis. If someone wants to play the goody two-shoes, everyone loves you faction, that's fine. But there'll be consequences for playing the goody two-shoes, everybody loves you faction, because not everyone will actually like you. That's the whole point. That'll be easier to track in the whole empire since CDs can use FTL communication now. Yeah. Now, there'll still be some time dilation, though. So buying goods in Stanton to trade in Castra, by the time you reach Castra, that might have changed. So it's never a guaranteed. Because the thing you will see, everybody else sees at the same time. Yeah, the INC video ended. We already finished it. Reputation with each and every entity is going to be a core part of Star Citizen. Got this from Aaron a few years ago. And some purchases are going to be gated behind rep and possibly also specific missions, which is a good idea. But the last we heard from the mission folks, and specifically the folks who do the lore stuff, they said that they wanted to get rid of negative reputation, which means that there is no consequences for working with certain groups, because then everyone will love you no matter what, which I find stupid. I find counterintuitive to the point of having your consequences have matter. And hopefully there's been enough people grumbling and being like, this is dumb, that with giving that feedback, that they will actually take that feedback in and go, okay. Because the big thing that they mentioned in that video where they talked about how they wanted to get rid of negative reputation was that they didn't want people to spike a negative reputation and suddenly no longer have access to certain landing zones simply because they took a mission and it failed and then they suddenly are shot at. And people are like, then just do the inverted for negative. If it's positive buildup over time that gives you benefits, then it requires more than one small negative. It requires you more than for you to shoot one person once for your reputation to drop to kill you levels. No, I know, Innocence. You're talking to somebody who's been around for a long time. I know about the Star Sim, what it's called now. It used to be called Quanta. I know that whole system's supposed to be in place, and it's something that they're working on. But the issue is the reputation itself. They also need ways to recover from negative rep, though. One of the easiest ways is time. If time resets everything to neutral, then the longer you go, the more it can be. And the more negative, the more positive you can be. And that sort of happened at one point. Reputation gain and loss is dynamic and it may start with an apology. I like consequences, especially for game faction choices. I like Bethesda games, but my biggest frustration with Bethesda games is that your choices don't fucking matter. You are the big damn hero and you run everyone. Fallout 4 was a nice slight change where you had to pick a side and that side would lock you out of some progression. So the safe option was always the Minutemen, so you could always complete the game with the Minutemen no matter what. But they should have gone even further and completed the game with like Raiders when they added the Raider DLC. You should always have the option to be a bastard in a game like a Fallout game. And like Star Citizen, there should be an option to be a fuck ass. You should always have the fuck ass option, because freedom means freedom of decisions, even if it's a terrible fucking decision. Yeah, the Nuke World DLC, yeah. Yeah, you already know that. That's already in the game now, or it was last I checked.
You can take away my spaceship.
Again, the issue is, last we heard, negative reputation is no longer a thing. I'm hoping that's not the case, but we'll see.
Ever take away my space game.
Hi _prince_of_. Just resubscribed for 15 months. Huzzah.
Thank you so much for that 15 months of support there, High Prince. You're very important, Papa Van Prince, Pennsylvania pedestrian. This is your fault. There's one drinking night. Shots and cheers in chat, y'all. Shots and cheers. I just want to hang out with Levki and not be a fuck ass, but not be a bootlicker and kill Van Duel brown coats for life. Yeah. Someone asked earlier if we're going to see, CIG would earn my infinite respect if they actually did an event next year where you had to choose between fighting for the People's Alliance and fighting for the UEE because the UEE invades and annexes Nyx. Even if CIG had a determined outcome for that, which would probably be Nyx still ends up being independent and not in UEE control because they kind of need that for the balance for first 5 systems, that would go so hard in terms of player decision. No, I get it. Many gamers want access. I literally have talked to people in person who are content creators for Star Citizen who said, I paid for it, I should have access to everything. And I vehemently disagreed with them with that idea. And get enough do-overs to get it and get actively angry when something is blocked, regardless of justification or realism. Some people that would want to solo Idris. I mean, yeah. Yes, yeah, give me matter torpedoes so I can do some historical reenactments. All I am saying is if they did something like that, you would have one of the most interesting events in gaming. Because you would have an active civil war in the community. Because people like me, who are invested in the universe, I am ride or die for Levki. If the UEE brings a Bengal in, then strap me to a missile and launch me at the Bengal. I will defeat them. You know? I will be the People's Alliance, Levski's thirstiest soldier. I don't even give a shit about the PAL, but Levski must be free. I want my choices to matter. It's just pixels, exactly. It'll definitely be the fight for Nyx. Almost certainly, but right now it's focused on the Van Duel, not necessarily for for between UE and People's Alliance. Hey, I'm doing better, yeah, even though I'm coughing. What's Levski all about? Like, what kind of governance? At its fundamental core, it's about freedom. Its goal is that every single person should be allowed to express themselves and to live the life they want to live as long as it doesn't interfere with other people. That that things need to be discussed. Like, you need to be able to solve problems as much as possible through discussion without violence, and that there shouldn't be a coercive violence in general in people's lives. Very egalitarian, optimistic. I don't think there's no like leader of Levski, for instance. It's just like it's like a collective democracy. It's very what's the fucking guy's face? The guy with the ice pick to the face. Communist. Trotsky. It's very Trotskyism meets like modern liberal democracy. It's got a little bit of libertarianism in there. Syndicalist, yeah. It's very like commune sort of importance. Yeah, with 4-5 newspaper, it definitely seems like the UEE is very much like hippity hoppity, you're now my property kind of situation. not hope they're not commies. They're commies in the intellectual sense, in that they believe in the revolution that will overthrow the UEE and bring freedom to the individual. Yeah, your freedom to swing your arm ends at my nose. The way they don't want a hierarchy of somebody who's in charge of everyone, because that would inevitably cause people to fight over resources and stuff. I don't think Levki is in the belief that everyone has resources no matter what, but the idea is that everyone helps each other out. So it's like a collectivization, but not through the state. Space peace movement like the 1960s style. It's around there, yeah. Like one of its main goals, one of the main belief structures of the People's Alliance is do not have a UEE agenda. Do not promote a UEE agenda. I mean, the UEE that Levki broke away from is not the same as the UEE today, right? Yeah. But go to contentious objects. In fact, all right, I'm going to boot this up. I'm going to have to show you all. You're making me do this, chat. This is your fault. The way I always see Levskiites as is Austin hippies. I have never seen hippies with a larger arsenal. Somebody who will legitimately talk about the 60s if it was a great 60s and 70s, this is a great time of peace and love, and then show you their collection of AK-47s. Yeah. Well, you grew up in Austin, so you know what I'm talking about, Jen. They broke away from the Measures because the Measures kept killing them. And here's the reality. Here's the secret about the UEE. The UEE is not the same as it was under the Measures, but it's very similar. It didn't change much. Basically, they got rid of the Measures and started electing a Measure instead of having them inherited. They now elect a dictator with some minor reforms. All right, I'm going to show you contentious objects because contentious objects is a great way of I'm not going to update PTU. The Austin I knew is dead. It has definitely changed for a lot. But you know what I mean. That sort of, we're going to respect everyone, and if you don't respect people, you will have to answer to me and my 15 friends with guns. Peace, love, and stay strapped. That's basically what the the people of Levki are like. The PAL is like. Yeah, so like, I'll show this real quick. I can't, it just popped away. But if you look at the, here we go. Here, I'll show you real quick. Make sure I don't have anything in my backpack. Doing some stuff. I'll just empty it out here. And I'm going to do the fast travel chat. No, I know. But I don't trust Armistice. Your rights, as someone says, your rights extend that you can swing your arms as much as you want, as long as it doesn't hit my face, as long as it hit my nose, kind of thing.
Recently ranked 5th in patient wait times, choose where fast and reliable medical treatment is always what the doctor orders.
Fast travel.
Just a friendly reminder that no matter your health status, just by being here, you're already taking an important step on the road to wellness.
Gotta take advantage of it while I have it, because I think this coming year is going to be the end of the fast travel backspace. What the fuck? This is the hospital? I actually haven't been to the hospital yet, so just like, what the fuck? Let's see if I still have my stuff. I do. Straight. Quarterly ethics training. You think the glitch of falling through the floors will be fixed soon? No. Thank you, Ian Wilson. Hope you enjoyed it. It was fun to do. Oh, this is where we actually, like, go for our... It's like, yeah, okay. I get that.
How are things with you?
Nope. I've already left my offering, but I will soon again.
Just enlisted in Navy. We were supposed to start up our own settlement, but I guess she changed her mind. Wish you would have told me. Not sure what I'm gonna do now. Yeah, I feel that.
This is live. This is live. The glitch of falling through the floor has been around in Star Citizen for a long time. Likely is going to be around even around 1.0. I'm never bugging you about this question bot ever again. Again? What do you mean, Jin? I'm never not bugging me. Oh yeah, please do. It's such a tedious process. All right, first of all, right here. Rules of the UEE. We the People's Alliance, or rules of life. We the People's Alliance of Levki are dedicated to the creation of a continual development of a truly egalitarian community, where all sentients may feel safe and free to express ideas while supporting each other towards the communal goal of enlightened self-sufficiency. Visitors are expected to respect our beliefs and are encouraged to adopt them in their own life after they've gone. Even if you disagree with us, you will respect our right to life. Never denigrate another's views or ideas. We are all entitled to our own beliefs. Do not attempt to profit from, exploit, or instigate plans to deprive anyone of their goods or health. Not pursue a UEE agenda while within our community. Agree to resolve conflicts in a non-violent manner. Agree to spend time, no matter how little, thinking about what you have done today to make the universe a better place. I'll wait for the ad to come back. Yeah, I see y'all. I see y'all. Does Levki have the asteroid hangar? Yes, it does. It has the asteroid hangar. No abs in Levski. Yeah, if you're part of the Astropub egalitarian self-sufficient community, you don't have ads. It's got about 55 seconds for a lot of folks to get back. For those who are wondering what Levki is all about, we don't condone suicide, Paul. Star Citizen is the weirdest place where one of the most legitimate answers to solving a problem that you're having in game is, have you tried killing yourself? And it's totally not toxic. It's the weirdest non-toxic community to be like, oh, I'm having this problem. Have you tried suicide? Like, what? What? All right, rules of life, and everyone's back. This is not me condoning it, by the way, anybody who's watching this from YouTube or Twitch. It's legitimately a solution. This is why we have to say backspace, because people get weird about it. So, established 2655. We, the People's Alliance of Levki, are dedicated to the creation and continual development of a truly egalitarian community where all sentients may feel safe and free to express ideas while supporting each other towards a communal goal of enlightened self-sufficiency. Visitors are expected to respect our beliefs and encouraged to adopt them in their own life after they've gone. Even if you disagree with us, you will respect our right to life. Visitors should never denigrate another's views or ideas. We are all entitled to our own opinions, our own beliefs. Do not attempt to profit from, exploit, or instigate plans to deprive anyone of their goods or health. Not pursue a UEE agenda while in our community. This is still on the fucking walls, by the way, y'all. This is still here. And this is new-ish. The UEE changed 160 years ago, and this is still here. Nyx does not, the People's Alliance does not like the new UEE as much as they didn't like the old UEE. Agree to resolve conflicts in a nonviolent manner. Agree to spend time, no matter how little, thinking about what you have done today to make the universe a better place. Everyone else have a red coat? So, this is my favorite store on the Citadel. Mostly because, here we go. Based. 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 Keep hitting me. And I want this printed out. I want this. I need to find this file. And I'm going to print it out. I'm going to put it on my fucking wall. This gives you an idea of what the current People's Alliance thinks of the UEE. I just need to find the file. Once we find the file, I can do it. By the way, they're talking about the People's Alliance and it's dealing with the UEE. I don't think Cafe Musino or everything else has this. It would be pretty easy to make if I couldn't find the file, but I'd love to see the file itself. What is your terraforming theory, Alaska? I don't think Corduroy says anything cool like that. I think the Corduroy has is I love that one. Is over here. It was over here. Maybe it's over here. Yeah, here it is. Take a look. That is prosthetics. That is a prosthetic arm. One thing I can think of that would make lore sense for these UEE not invading is if they leave the People's Alliance to colonize to test the viability of the new terraforming without liability. They don't tell them to colonize the rest of the test world. I think what they're going to do is likely... Nyx 1 is going to be a hot spot. There's no way they get around it. Nyx 1's going to be a hot spot. Because Levki, the People's Alliance of Levki will... Or the People's Alliance... will want to colonize it because it's their system. And the UEE will want to colonize it because it's viable. And UEE's argument was it was one of their companies that terraformed it. And the People's Alliance's argument was traditionally our territory and you fucked off, so fuck off. They did it without our permission. Yeah, eminent domain. It's the same thing they did to Stanton. Those of you who don't know, there were people who were already in Stanton when it was discovered. Who do you think made all those abandoned outposts? Before they removed it, I think they removed it because the Bengal carrier wasn't invented by the time the Stanton was discovered, because they had to retcon, they had to backtrace it a little bit. But the idea is that UEE claimed eminent domain and sent the military in and forcibly evicted everyone in the system. They not genocide. Genocide's not the right word. Ethnic cleansing? They removed people from their ancestral lands. Displaced, yeah. They didn't round people up and throw them into camps. They rounded people up and kicked them out and said, fuck off. Yeah. Human rights violations, you know. Yes, that's also genocide. Then genocide. And they, it's my belief, based off of what evidence we have, that the Dusters are the descendants of those original settlers, which is why they still show up in these shanty towns, because they're living off the extremes. Everyone takes advantage of them because they're not as powerful as the other groups. They're constantly kind of seen as like the way, but like Hurston actively has missions to go kill them, you know? So yeah. And all you have to do, because again, CIG is not subtle. Look at the armor they wear. The armor they wear is like very native coded in the sense of like, it's lower tech, often utilizes a lot more animal parts to it. And it's a lot of leathers and bone and that kind of thing, but like lower tech, not like the Vanduul or the Shattered Blade, which is much more high tech with all the Vanduul bones and stuff like that. Force migration, yeah. Does the UE really have the resources to spare to mess with Nyx right now, though? I think that's the only chance that Nyx has. I think the UE might do something stupid, because the argument is that, here's the argument. Let me lay out the UE argument. If I was a morally corrupt Fed, the easiest response is, Nyx is on the border of Vanduul territory. We cannot oblige, we cannot allow a system which borders on UEE territory and also borders on Vanduul territory to fall into the hands of the Vanduul. Because if Nyx falls into the hand of the Vanduul, then Castra is at threat. All of the systems around connected to Nyx are at threat, which includes systems which are connected to the UEE. If they invade Nyx, they'll invade Pyro. They'll invade Tohill. They'll invade Hadrian. Hadrian's a UEE system. They'll invade Castra. Castra's a UEE system. The Vanduul do not stop once they've invaded. And the Vanduul have already started to invade Nyx. So we need to create a buffer zone, and to do that, a buffer state, and to do that, we need to have control of Nyx. On top of that, we've just terraformed Nyx 1. So we have an easy jump-off point to set up military operations. See, Iris, that's the actual argument, which is, fuck you, we've got bigger guns, and we want it. But yeah. Nyx has no economic base to resist, or should not have. Nyx has a network of stations and other facilities which are hidden inside the glacium ring that have been there for hundreds of years, that only the People's Alliance and the natives of Nyx know about. The UEE could invade and smash Levki to pieces, but it would just turn one centralized location into dozens, if not hundreds, of small cells, which would actively ambush their supply lines. It would make their occupation of Nyx into a living hell. It doesn't take a technologically advanced superpower to defeat a technologically advanced superpower with asymmetric warfare. Killed by bug bites. Yeah, I think it's going to be like striking over Switzerland. If CIG does this right, then there is an argument for both. The argument is Levki is not powerful enough. The People's Alliance is not powerful enough to stop the invasion of the Vandul, and we can't allow Levki to fall, or Nyx to fall. But at the same time, the argument for the People's Alliance is this is our home. It has been our home for hundreds of years, and you claim to want to respect the rights. You're new and different, you claim, but you're doing the same fucking shit that the Mezzers did, and we will fight to our death to defend our own lands, the things that we have fought to build for over hundreds of years. Dictators will not stop us. Will it cause the system to fall to the Vandul? Probably, because neither side is right, and neither side is going to negotiate this the right way. So violence is going to happen, and if violence happens, more content for us. It's not a garden world naturally, it's a terraformed world, which is super rare terraformed world because it wasn't there like that before. What do you think they're getting at with the FTL comms through jump gates anyways? It's going to allow for faster light communications in general. Basically, it's them going to rationalize why there is faster light communications in the verse, why you can make a comms call across systems, why they've already sort of set that up with like the live stream that Jax did in his last like big appearance, and the live call that they did to the floor of IAE with Molly from Levki. Yeah, it's his lore set up for social tools. The point about this is that I would be fucking ecstatic if CIG did this. If CIG allowed us to choose two good people, two good sides to fight against each other, and we had to choose which side to support. Wow. Oh. Storytelling. The storytelling I've been wanting in Star Citizen forever. Now, do I think that will happen? No. Because I don't think CIG has the balls to do it. Prove me wrong. Please, God, prove me wrong. If you can send comms faster than light, then what's the point of data running? Packet sizes. Just because you can send comms faster than light doesn't mean you won't want to transfer large volumes of data, which would take very long time, if not be nearly impossible to do at through FTL communication speeds. Also, secure communications. Anything that's being done to FTL is probably easily interceptable and like usable. So any information that you need to be secret or is large will still need to be transferred via runner. I do not see how UEE is good in that conflict, but yes, give. They can moralize it.
Would it be appropriate to challenge Elliot? Or does he not have enough sway?
Yes, I'd challenge Elliot, but I think if I just pitched what I just did to Elliot, Elliot would fucking love it. Elliot is insane. The entire team who make mission teams are insane. Like, if you gave them some crazy idea and they liked it, they'd try to do it. Like, their ambitions have been restricted by the game itself being fucked. They should. It'd be a great chance to learn how to do it. Practice makes perfect, and it'll become part of the lore for the game launches. I think if they did it and they still had a predetermined outcome, no matter what happens, this would happen. And my guess would be, what did we see at the end of... Okay, I'm pulling up the Perseus. We're going to watch this again. You could see this as a metaphor for the entirety of the conflict we just discussed.
Captain, you better get up here. We're picking up a distress call. General quarters. All hands to general quarters. Down in Act 4. This is on trust. General quarters. All hands to general quarters station. Up and forward starboard. Down in Act 4. This is on trust. Reading multiple contacts.
This is how I think it'll end. That's how I think it'll end. If I know CIG's writing team, if they actually did something like this, it would be you choose your side, UEE or People's Alliance. You decide who wins this fight. And then before the killing blow is done for either side, the Vandal will show up and both sides have to make a temporary truce to fight the Vandal, who are the real enemies anyways. The illusion of choice. Not necessarily, because whichever side wins will probably get some small benefit. They've been playing around with that idea when they did the Herson controls the jump point station. This is all experimentation for them to figure out how to best implement 1.0 storylines. Because even if I knew that it would end with a temporary truce to take on the Vandal, I would still divine wind my ass into the bridge of a Bengal to save Levki from UEE imperialism. I want that discussion in the community. I want the community to go choose a side. You know, pick a side. You want to pick the People's Alliance or the UEE? Because I think that the choice is going to end up being more nuanced than people think. Yeah, and as soon as the Vandal will inevitably lose interest and go somewhere else, all bets are off again. And that could tie into the Terra and UEE conflict, which is the story of 1.0. The main story of Star Citizen isn't the UEE versus the Vandal. That's sort of the Squadron 42 story. The main story of Star Citizen is the inevitable splitting of the Empire between East and West. Depends on what paints the UEE and Levki offer, Paul. Fuck that. If it means that if the end means that Levki is controlled by the UEE, I will never go back to Levki. Yes, 100%. I think Terra would support the People's Alliance if the UEE was actively fucking with them. I think the Levki will probably side with Terra in that fight. They just won't. It'll be begrudging support. The enemy of my enemy is thing, you know. I think what will likely happen is if the UEE won that situation, you would have like the leaders of Levki would be basically a puppet government. They would still be nominally independent, but the council would be controlled by UEE sympathizers. Kind of like how an imperial nation will come into another nation and they won't necessarily say, we are now in control, but they'll say, now this guy's in control. He just so happens to be our friend. I would love that thing in the game. I think it could be more forward afterwards, either letting the Vanduul take a system, we push and take their systems. Mayorg is also with Levski. Yeah. I think you'd be surprised how many people would side with the UEE, because that would also be a nice little split, because you would have people like myself and my organization, because I know my organization would be on the side of Levski in that fight, siding with pirates. Because there would be active pirate groups who would be like, yeah, we're fighting with Levski. Why? Because fuck the UEE. We're not necessarily actively pirates, but there would be plenty of groups like that. It'll really come going down to whose skins are cooler. I think they'll do more than that. I hope. Especially if it comes down to more influence in terms of economic influence on a system. What? Do you know something you're not sharing with the class? About what? Only what I can imply from what CIG's talked about. Because as CIG has continued these events, two things have been true. Number one, they want to try to do missions where you can participate with both sides and earn rewards for both sides. I hope that's still a thing. It's just not in something like this. They've also had head-to-head competition where you could work for either side to get rewards, but the side who wins gets a specific thing. With Hurston, prices went down, and they gave Hurston the jump point station. So it's clear they're experimenting with ideas beyond just here's a cool skin. They also, did not show the rewards until after they're done. Not even putting into just don't talk about it in terms of skin rewards. If they just did it in this way of saying there will be consequences for economics, like what sort of things are cheaper, like making things cheaper in Levski if Levski wins, for Levski itself, or making it more expensive with the UEE, or whatever, like having some sort of economic benefit for the side that wins. While I share your thought about actual gameplay, lore choices should be in, I've heard too many people just go based off the rewards. That is true. That's stupid, because if I don't like the reward for the side I choose, how do I attain the opposite? CIG is going to eventually need to break that pattern in some cases, if they actually earnestly want to have a game where consequences matter. This is, again, the reason why I started from the very beginning, is that I would love for this to happen, but will this actually happen? No. I don't think CIG will actually do this. As much as they seem to be hinting at it, I think they'll do some dumb bullshit where it happens off screen, or it's all drama for nothing and the Vanduul are the real enemy, yada, 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 yada. So forced PvP? No, because it would be a PvPvE sort of thing. Give missions where your job is to attack the UEE and attack their supply lines, and you have to go deal with this fleet or whatever, or this supply fleet. And if you are UEE aligned, you might be able to show up and attack something like that, What if, dare I say, the losing sides do not get skins? Or just don't mention there's any rewards. Just tell you, because people will play for a story if you give them a story. Just no rewards. You know? There's no fucking rewards. The reward is money or reputation. And that reputation can be used for cool things. Yeah, I've been supporting Headhunters over CFP because I don't like them. I don't like CFP either. And even though you could do both, last missions, the last event, it was clear that Headhunters beat CFP in the last event. Even though you could do both, people did Headhunters more than they did CFP. It was close, but Headhunters were ahead. And I just want Squadron 42 to be good. I agree. But the likelihood of us seeing Squadron 42 is entirely out of our hands in the sense of like what we're going to see. The likelihood of us seeing some sort of conflict between the UEE and Nyx, between UEE and the People's Alliance, is pretty high based off their own justifications and what we know going into 2026. We don't know if 2026 if we're going to see the Squad 42 come out. I just don't think the server's going to handle this type of gameplay right now. They can't. But when they have instancing, they can. Sadly, I'm going to have to side with the People's Alliance. I do think there'll be people who side with the UEE simply out of the UEE is in charge and we believe in the UEE and we're a lawful organization, so we're going to do that. I, on the other hand, am fervently against imperialism. And if somebody is already there, especially if they've been there for a long ass time, it's their fucking land. You don't simply walk onto it with a gun and say, it's my land. It's not how this works. Maybe I'm an idealist, but in a video game, I get to be an idealist. Is the current UE Imperator, is that right term? Imperator, yeah. The sort to attack Nyx? No. But the Imperator isn't the only one in charge. The Senate is also in charge. Why they didn't before was because there was twofold. One, there was no actual benefit to attacking them. They didn't have anything. Now there is a terraformed world. So that's a huge indication. That's being done by Genesis Terraforming. It started last year. We'll finish this next year. So it's a 2-year terraforming project. And second of all, the Vanduul are starting to invade Nyx. And here's the thing about the history of the Vanduul. When the Vanduul start to raid a system, it is already over. It is a matter of time. It's a matter of when, not if, a bigger clan shows up to take over the system. So the Vanduul are already in Nyx. It is going to be a thing. It might not be tomorrow. It might be 3 years from now, but the Vanduul will invade Nyx in force to conquer it. So from the UEE perspective, this is a problem because Nyx has gateways to both Hadrian and to Castra, both UEE systems. Plus, it's also got a hub to Pyro and Tohill. Yeah, but the strategic important argument was still valid before the new shiny world, but it was never really rated. It was never really a problem before. There's lots of planets along the UEE border that they never really dealt with because they never really raided into them. And the UEE has limited resources. So there's only so many places they can be to defend the Empire. So if you're got a place that is relatively pointless, has a group of people who are anti-government, but they're like keeping to themselves, and yeah, it borders on a hostile location, but there's really no conflict, why invest resources or time into that system when you've got other systems which are actively on fire? Yeah, they strangle pirates largely, so yeah. Like, for instance, think about it in this way. There are large sections of Mexico which are effectively under the control of the cartels, which are an active threat to both the government of Mexico and the United States. But the act of actively fighting those cartels requires resources and time, which is taken away from other aspects of defense. I'm sure Mexico has multiple police organizations, if not the military, dealing with cartels in parts of the country. But there's lots of parts of the country that they don't control effectively, or have minimal control. Do you invest your resources and time into those areas only because crime is fluid, it will pop up somewhere else? Do you work with the United States to help you out because they're also having that problem, but the United States also has other issues outside of Mexico they have to deal with? There's only so many it's a good analogy for this. There's only so many chips in the bag. There's only so many places you can be at once to deal with problems. Eventually, you're going to have to let some shit happen because it's just so low priority and doesn't create enough problems for you personally or for you as a country to really deal with on a one-to-one basis. That makes sense? You got to remember, the UEE is 35 systems. And the Vanduul have actively invaded Vega multiple times and actively invaded Oberon. And those are only a couple of jumps away from Earth. So that is the priority. Yep, Nyx's connections to 2 UEE systems, 2 human non-UEE aligned systems, and 2 jumps from Terra. Nyx being invaded by the Vanduul isn't just a problem, it's an apocalypse scenario. Yeah. You have only so many poker chips you can play, basically, yeah. That's a good way of putting it. Because you only have so many fingers to plug into the dike, you know? Eventually you run out of fingers. My friend is unemployed to space concerns. She's getting an SSD for Christmas. Nice. Good job. It's awesome. From you. Nice. Good to hear. It's your old one because you only have one SSD slot. I have another SSD, my old SSD, which I think I'm installing into my my gaming PC at some point, but not yet. Yeah, that's the other point, is that there was no terraformable world, so the risk for the Vanduul to invade a system without any resources is low. Because they might raid into a system and find there's nothing fucking there, and they'll just leave. But now there's a terraformed world, and the Vanduul love to invade terraformed worlds so they can strip them of resources and fuck off. They don't usually go into planets or systems that have no livable or no terraformable locations. They like to go into places that have actively been terraformed. Hopefully that makes sense. My point is that is my ideal of what's going on. Probably won't actually happen, but here I'll pull it up so we can see what I'm talking about. For those of you who don't know, oh, thank you, Reaper, for telling me. Pull this up. Is there a loading screen? I'll just Google 4.5 loading screen. Ooh. God damn, it's not there either. I'm looking through my Discord to see if I can find it. We're gonna see this and then we'll go. This is one of those things I want to talk about. Do. Oh yeah. This was posted by Alex in my Discord, who said specifically, Paul, they know where you live. The lore team is coming for you, when they posted this. Because of the FTL comms breakthrough. But this is what I'm talking about. Because I made a post on Spectrum about, hey, just tell us what's going on with the FTL comms. Right there. Senate to discuss potential Nyx reevaluation. With the terraform of Nyx 1 underway, could the UEE reverse course and finally claim the system? All right, so the universe is getting a bit smaller, said lead researcher Dr. Alo Batel, as they demonstrated the first public test of its faster-than-light communications to a stunned crowd. Speaking in real time from the press conference in New York Sol system, a colleague located in Prime Terra system, which is beyond a single jump point, Dr. Batel made history with the transmitted of "Can you hear me?" While the current system of jump point jump tunnel comm drones has been improved over the centuries to greatly reduce the delay in sending data between systems, being able to communicate instantaneously no matter the distance has been heralded as one of the greatest technological breakthroughs of the century. Utilizing a similar entanglement technology to the regeneration process, Ibrahim spheres, Dr. Bettel credited Imperator Addison's Second Life initiative for paving the way for discovery he made, discovery to be made. So I know it's got this like jump point. This isn't jump point technology. This is quantum. This is a regeneration technology being utilized for communications. UE, we should invade Nyx, the UE Navy. That's a lot of Perseus, Polaris, and Idris. Yeah, because it uses quantum entanglement. What will become of the Herald? You'll still need for, my guess is this is going to be limited to voice comms and messages only. Large amounts of data will still be impractical to send through this FTL communication method. So it'll still be faster to send it through a Herald than it would be to try to transmit over this data. And it's also going to be probably more secure because over the FTL communications could probably still be intercepted by anybody who's got the right technology to intercept it on the way. So if you want a secure transmission or you have a large data package, you want to send it through data smoothing. Just like the internet exists, emails exists, but so do bike messengers. People still send information through the mail, even though email and internet exists, even though basically it's instantaneous through digital means. Why? Because some things need to be secure, and it's more secure to give a bike messenger a hard drive and have them go across town, or to ship something on a disk from one point to another than it is to send it over the internet. Do not underestimate the data throughput of a man in a van filled with HDDs. Yeah. Nothing better than an air gap system to send critical info. Yeah. Believe it or not, if you enjoy RP, you should love this. How the heck are you going to stay in character and coordinate picking up with someone on another system? The reality was that CIG was moving away from their no faster than light communications pledge. They were moving away from that for years now. And from a story standpoint, it just makes more sense to have FTL communications. And they've writ their own reason excuse with the Ibrahim sphere. More and more, what's likely to be happening is that CIG will push for CIG will push for so the FTL comms thing now explains Molly in the podcast. Exactly. And I think more and more CIG will push for interspace. Interspace is going to be their MacGuffin. It's going to be their protomolecule, their warp, their subspace, their slip space, their hyperspace. It's their MacGuffin to explain the sci-fi wibbly-wobbly bullshit. Because interspace is where jump points travel through to get from point A to point B. And it's also where your imprint travels to back and forth. You're connected to your imprint via interspace through a quantum entanglement system. Good night, Big Brick. I'm going to go to bed here shortly, too. Yep, and they still store important data on giant tape reels and store them in a Dayton Mountain and move them around in armored cars. Yeah, that's the important thing to remember as well, is that data is digital in the Star Citizen universe, or like money is digital. Digital. Money is digital in the Star Citizen universe. So secure transfers from point A to point B will probably be best done through data runners rather than through over the open air sort of thing. So a data runner is partially going to be like an armored car, an armored truck sort of service, because you're a lot more protective and a lot more reliable than open the air. It removes a lot of problems in lore breaking, like player trade across systems that crafted and player shops will need. Yeah. It turns out the Space Marines pushing Vanduul through UE space. Fun times coming. Well, the joke is, and it continues to be true, that the Star Citizen universe is the beginning of the dark age of technology. The Star Citizen universe is the prequel to the 40K universe. And the more that they develop the game, the more it's becoming true. You mean things aren't going to get better? Well, in the 40K universe, things did get better, and then they failed. I mean, the theme of the game is the fall of the Roman Empire. Yeah. The reality is that it's also important to point out that the devs of 40... Them biddies.
Paul Shelley for Emperor, 2958.
Yes. It would be 2960, but yeah. Or Battletech lore where the tech is lost? Well, we're a little bit outside of the Battletech. But it's important to remember that, speaking of Battletech, there are people at CIG who are fans of the Battletech universe, and there's a lot of people at CIG who are fans of the 40K universe. So the idea that those haven't influenced Star Citizen is laughable. Both are big science fiction universes created in the 80s and 90s, and CIG is all about 80s and 90s sci-fi. I just don't think you're ever going to have chainswords and bolters. Trust me, there'll be a lot of very happy nerds if you had bolters and chainswords, but I don't think you're going to have them. All right, it's past 11 p.m. my time. I'm going to call it to bed. Coda would make a bolter. Well, bolt pistol maybe. I will be back Thursday for another office hours. And then on Friday, we'll finally do some pub and plays with Logan. Saturday is our engineering discussion. It's going to be Space Tomato and hopefully Radar Ranger. We'll be talking about engineering. So at some point during the week, I'm going to probably hop on Discord with the league and figure out what the league's doing and do some engineering tests with the league. So by the third Squadron 42, do we get the People's Republic of Earth? No, because it'll probably end before Star Citizen starts. No, give me a chain. No, me chain sword. Thank you for hanging out. Thank you for watching. And like I say every time, hope to see you someday in the black.